Hi, my name is Gage Morrow, and I'm the editor-in-chief of The Weekly Wiper, a satirical magazine that I hand make and hand deliver all over Austin, Texas. I've said that, I don't know, 100 times by now on different social medias and things like that, but today I'm going to be showing you the hand make part of The Wiper. I started The Weekly Wiper as a magazine idea because I like writing satire. I really do. It's one of my favorite forms of comedy. I am a stand-up comedian. That's what I moved to Austin, Texas for. But I wrote satire in college for a magazine that, well, no longer exists, actually. I just got an email from them. If you've ever written for them or you know of them, it's Hard Money. It was a financial... I don't even know what it was. I think they had a multiple. I'm realizing now this is going to be difficult to talk and make this at the same time. I'm learning a new skill, folks. I made this video series, podcast, whatever you want to call it. I really don't know what I'm calling it. Actually, I do know what I'm calling it. This video that you're watching, the title that's going to be underneath it is going to be Editor's Desk. Editor's Desk is the name of this video. This is episode 1 of Editor's Desk, but every week I do the same process to make the template. So tune in next week for Editor's Desk episode 2. The numbering is going to get very weird because this is volume 13 of the Wiper. But you know what? Fuck it. I guess we'll just call this episode 13. And the other ones I just deleted. We'll say that. We'll say that I just deleted all the previous episodes. I guess I'm now realizing it's going to double as an ASMR channel. Ooh, that's an idea, folks. That is an idea. Just an ASMR video. I mean, what other trends can I hop on, you know? What other internet trends can I hop on to try to make my thing be noticed? I am a comedian here in Austin, Texas. I moved here from Connecticut to pursue stand-up comedy. And I love stand-up. I love the art form of stand-up. I love watching comedians do their thing. But I do love satire. I like writing. I like the written word. At the end of this episode, by the way, I've already kind of thought out the format a little bit. I'm going to make the entire template in front of you to show you just how long and what goes into making this thing. And then at the end, I'm going to read you all the stories that are in here. There are 5 stories and a puzzle. There's a puzzle on page 2 of the Weekly Wiper. The Weekly Wiper is a quarter sheet size piece of quarter sheet magazine. So if this is a full 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, it's a quarter sheet. It's just a piece of paper folded twice over, once widthwise and then once lengthwise. And I cut it. I'm going to show you the whole process. Actually, I'm going to show you. Today is Tuesday. I'm kind of all over the place, but you know, fuck it. It's the first episode. Today is Tuesday, and here at the Wiper, we like to say, or our motto is, we go to press on Tuesday. And I've said this a bunch of times on Instagram, on different like promotional platforms, whatever. But to me, the motto, we go to press on Tuesday, is not just a reminder of our print schedule, but it's a promise. We go to press on Tuesday. No matter what, for the last 13 weeks, we have gone to press on Tuesday. And is it arbitrary? Yes, it is, because my days off of work are on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So I work a 40-hour job at Starbucks, and then I use my 2 days off that they give you. Thank you, Howard Schultz, or whatever the new CEO's name is. I use those 2 days to make this newspaper, to make this satire magazine. It's because it's what I love. It's what I love doing, and I hope that my love for this magazine shines through in the production of it. So I'm not usually using scissors, but I think for this, I bought these scissors to use for the paper, and I'm kind of now finding the use for them. If anyone's interested in the crafting of it, I used to use I guess, why the fuck would you watch this if you weren't interested in the craft of it? I I I use a guillotine, a guillotine, a gill of the ton, a gill of the hun, a guillotine, a paper guillotine. I used to use that to cut up the paper, this part. So I guess, I mean, I am all over the place, but we're already in it now. So folks, you're in it with me. A big factor in making a zine is considering your format, or making anything, I suppose, but physical medium is constrained by, well, physical restraints. So I have to consider how all of what I write and what others write, page 5 article, always for guest writers, how that's going to fit on a page. And I have to do measurements to reach the streamlined process that I'm showing you today. Took many iterations. There are many life cycles of the wiper that were more difficult, less efficient, and overall more of a headache. But I've kind of settled on my margins, font size, all the little tricks and fine tweaking that it took to get it to be where I can make the weekly wiper every week, because it is a lot. It is a lot of work to make this thing, and I hope that this video demonstrates that. I mean, not that it's like, woe is me, oh my gosh, it takes so much work. It's not that. I mean, I don't work in a salt mine in Nigeria, but, I don't not work in a salt mine in Nigeria in my mind, I work in a salt mine of my mind, constantly digging down cold, dark holes in my subconscious and coming up with America's favorite mineral, comedy. No, salt. Salt is in everything that we eat. Fun fact, I don't know what fucking year, but in some year in America, I'm going to go and guess, I'll look it up later and I'll put it in post, but I'm going to guess 1953. That's Gage's guess of the week. In 1953, the FDA, also a guess, they added iodine to salt. So whenever you look at table salt and you have a package of table salt, it'll say iodized. That's because, iodized, first of all, it means that you're adding iodine to something. Iodine is an essential element. It's on the periodic table. Look it up. Iodine is essential for pregnant women so as to not cause birth defects in their unborn child. But in adults, it prevents you from getting goiters. Goiters are those giant, basically cysts on the back of your neck. So, fun little fact, that's when the government actually did something of worth, to actually, keep its constituency safe. Holy shit, could you imagine such a day when the United States government, did something to the benefit of the American people? Unreal, folks. There's going to be a lot of this, by the way. A lot of this. This is... Usually I listen to podcasts or music when I'm constructing this, but I thought, hey, with all this time, I might as well make my own, And also bring you into the world of what I do. Bring you into the process of making the wiper. Now, I only have one camera, which is a production sin. I only have one camera because that's all I can afford right now. But I promise once I can afford another camera, there's going to be a top-down camera that's looking over the editor's desk, because that would look really cool and also give you more of an insight of what's happening right now. But I will try to narrate by words what I'm doing right now. I am cutting up the assets. That's what I call them. The assets for the paper. Now, part of the process of making the wiper was getting this down to 3 pages of paper. I wanted to save paper, not only for economic reasons, but why waste paper? We're already making print media, which is for the devil, because the environment is everyone cares about the environment. Everyone cares about the environment, and they'll tell you about it after they get off their private jet. They'll make sure to tell you how much they care about the environment. I care about the environment as well. I like to write about environmental protection. I like to pretend like I donate to environmental protection. Name one charity for environmental protection that's not corrupted by captured organizations. I'll wait. I'm alone in my room, but I'll wait. Look, I don't know. All bullshit aside, now all the bullshit's aside. Let's put it over. Let's clear it to the side. Now, so I make this paper with 3 sheets of paper. So squeaky chair. This is the general. I mean, not general. It is the format of the paper. The whole process is made up of a 2-sided sheet of paper. I guess the focus plane is right here. 2-sided sheet of paper. I have it labeled on a little cheat sheet to the side to let me know where my pages are going to end up. So this is this. You know, you got the B for back, C for cover, and then you got page 1, page 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6. So that's my little cheat sheet, and that gets it so that whatever I make on this little ASMR, ooh, very satisfying. Whatever I make on this will be the template. This is the back, the canvas, if you will. And then I copy it, I photocopy it onto, oh, there's another ASMR for you. Everyone loves ASMR. I make it on a orange sheet of paper. Originally, the Weekly Wiper started off as the idea, the word wiper, originates from the Latin, no, just kidding. The wiper in the Weekly Wiper originally meant windshield wiper. And if I can dig out I'm so buried right now. I set up this studio. It's not a studio. I set this up. This is my room. So usually my desk is facing that way. It doesn't really matter. But my point is all that stuff is over there. I can't reach the archives right now. And I don't want to. Because fuck you guys. Originally, the wiper in Weekly Wiper was going to be a reference to a windshield wiper. Because I wanted to... This may be a piece of shit move, but I wanted to put these magazines in people's windshield wipers on an orange piece of paper so it looked like a parking ticket. Oof, yes. I know it sounds terrible, and it is terrible, which is why I decided against it. But that's where the word wiper came from. I kind of thought up this whole magazine with that in mind. Then I got to the point of actually making the damn thing, and I thought, I like the word, or I like the phrase, the Weekly Wiper, but instead of it being a windshield wiper, maybe it would be a reference to wiping your tears. Wiping your tears from when you realize your government has failed you and they let you suffer entirely alone, poor, and desperate for assistance. Sorry, I just went on a little tangent there. No, wiping your shit, wiping your butthole, wiping your poopy little butt. The wiper is meant to wipe your poopy little butt. And of course, at first, that this was just a silly name. I ran with it. I like alliterations, as you will read in the Weekly Wiper. I love myself an alliteration. The Weekly Wiper. Also, it's just, if you're making this as advice, not that I have much of it to give, but this I can. If you're going to make something and you need a name for it, do not spend too much time mulling over the name. Because what is in a name? You know? If it really means that much to you, then fuck my advice. Who cares? But it shouldn't. Because it doesn't matter what you call something. It matters what you make it. And I have made 12 and a half volumes, making the 13th right now. And I could have called this thing anything. But I called it the Weekly Wiper. It's a name that I've grown to love. And... well, ASMR. Paper scraps. By the way, for anyone who's trying to call me out, I recycle all my paper. you should recycle all your paper. And make sure you single stream recycling, don't mix, segregate your recycling. Be racist with your recycling. I recycle my paper. One day, I hope, my ultimate goal in life, not ultimate, big goal in my life is to own a paper mill for the purpose of creating my own paper for my own magazine / newspaper, whatever form the Weekly Wiper finally takes, and have a recycling facility that recycles paper not only from used weekly wipers, but from all over different sources of paper. I'll figure out the details later. But owning my own supply chain would be, as the kids say, lit. I also want to bring back manufacturing to the United States. It's very important to have manufacturing in your country because, one, you can't rely on, what did the pandemic show us? A lack of national manufacturing leads to a whole shit ton of problems, folks. Remember when they held up those millions of masks in the ports in China? And it could have saved lives, allegedly. Yeah. So stop shutting down factories, please. Factories are, they're essential. Everything we make, as much as we want to pretend that we give a fuck about the environment, our spending practices, they really tell a different story because we buy a lot of cheap, disposable shit. We don't really reuse much of anything, and then we move on and we tweet about it and how upset we are that why is everything to shit? Why is there so much pollution? Why is there so much waste? Maybe because you keep buying shit. Manufacturing, everything in life, everything that is made creates some waste. That is an inevitability. I know we're trying to be a wasteless future or whatever, but you gotta accept the current situation. And the current rub is everything you want has to be made, and everything that is made comes with waste. And what you do with that waste, well, it's really, up to whatever your country will allow you to do with that waste. Because that's how it works. No company is going to go out of their way to spend any more money than they have to. And it's cheaper to not dispose of waste properly. Did you know that? Did you know that it's expensive to get rid of waste in a safe manner? Because it requires oversight and, testing and, oversight. I just said that twice. So when you make something, I'm a company, I'm making something. I want to make the wiper. I couldn't, I guess on a small scale, not recycle, and I could just throw all my trash together, and I couldn't go out to the dumpster and drop my recycling in the barrel. That would save me time. That would save me money, I'm sure. But fuck them. I don't want to do that. That's a small scale. Big scale is, I make paper at a legit paper mill, a big boy paper mill. And I have all these harsh chemicals that I need to make paper because, paper doesn't just grow out of the ground. It's got to be made. It's got to be processed. It makes a lot of waste. There's a lot of waste chemicals, a lot of toxic and caustic shit that could hurt marine life, could hurt most life, could hurt the people working there. So, you could save a shit ton of money by just throwing it into a river. And that's pretty much what manufacturers did forever until the EPA was like, please don't do that. And they're like, nah, we're still going to keep doing it. And they're like, well, if you do it again, we're going to make you pay a shit ton of money. And they're like, okay, we'll incur that as part of our cost. And we'll just dump chemicals at night so that you can't report it. And then they started upping the fees, yada, yada, yada. How much regulation there is on manufacturing? Do we need more? Do we need less? I guess that depends on who you vote for. Anyways, this podcast, whatever the fuck, I don't even call this a podcast. What would you call this? Sound off in the chat, folks. Sound off in the chat what do you want to call this. To me, it's not a podcast because, I got to do everything different, kids. I can't just make a fucking this. I'm doing this. I'm doing this and not posting it on, I don't know, I guess there was a sweat drop that just ran down the back of my, this is going to be a long one, folks. This is going to be a very arduous process because I'm used to just making it. I'm not used to talking throughout the entire process of making it, but it's a challenge that I've taken up. I'm making this whole dang thing myself. Yeah. Forgot where I was. Doesn't matter. I'm coordinating a lot right now. I kind of dug myself a little deep. Yeah. But I do. I make this every week. The Weekly Wiper. The name is a promise that it's going to come out every week. When? Well, we go to press on Tuesday and we deliver on Wednesday. And by deliver, I mean I deliver the whole thing. You know, I hand deliver limited copies over Austin, Texas. About 75 get delivered, 3 at a time to various businesses, and then I keep like 75 or so on hand to hand out at comedy open mics, comedy shows, to friends, to, well, I don't have any family out here, but you know, some of these friends are getting there. Some of them will be family soon. You know, what's family? What is a family? What is a family if not, I mean, really the idea of family anyways has kind of been, you know, we're not going to go there. It's okay. So what I'm doing right now is I'm cutting up the assets into, I'm nulling as, if you fuck with Lego like that, you know what? Fuck with Legos. I'm not going to say Lego. I know Lego is the proper plural for Legos, but if you say Lego and you mean it, fuck you. You know? It's Legos. It's what we've always called it. Legos, when you're setting up a Lego set, I think I heard this on Adam Savage's Tested channel. When you're setting up, when you're building something and you want to set up your pieces to put everything together to fabricate it, I think it's called, well, that's what they called it, was nulling, which is, you know, separating all your materials and your pieces and building it. By the way, I'm wearing a Buc-ee's shirt, if you're wondering, and you're probably not, but if someone was just being like, what the fuck shirt is he wearing? This is a shirt celebrating the 40th anniversary of the business Buc-ee's, spelled B-U-C-E-E apostrophe S, for those listening on podcasts. Buc-ee's is a chain of gas stations along the south, I guess west and southeast. It's the south. There's one between here in Austin and San Antonio that I like to visit when we take our trips on Tuesday. San Antonio Tuesdays. And Buc-ee's is just delightful. It is a collection of Buc-ee's branded jerky, chips. They got their own sausage kolaches, and mouth is watering just thinking about it. It's basically stoner heaven. Don't get high and drive, folks. It's a public service announcement. But yeah, back to the Wiper. I started the Weekly Wiper as a, for one, I love writing satire. Anyone who would have to write 5 articles of it every week must, but I love physical things, you know. Hold it in your hand, touch it, feel it, shake it, bop it, jerk off with it. I love physical things. My grandmother, Grandma Lise, she is an avid scrapbooker. This woman loves scrapbooking, and I always was so fascinated with her love of scrapbooking, but also just the process of it, putting it all together, you know. In a sense, I consider this a scrapbook newspaper. It's a zine, I guess, if there is an official term for what the Weekly Wiper is, it's a zine. And a zine is just a self-published magazine. It's really the only qualification. People in the zine community, they're very, very countercultural. That's why I very much have an affinity toward those folks. And I definitely count that myself as one of them. I'm a zine creator, folks. So, let's see. I'm just getting all my pieces in order. So what I do for the nulling, what I do for the production of the wiper is I separate my assets into 3 pages. There is the, I guess I cut everything up so I can't just show you, but I have the images, more ASMR for you. The images asset, and that is on 1 page. So we got pictures of Tarantino, pictures of Governor Tate Reeves. He's the governor of Mississippi. And yeah, some other shit that like seems very... All of this is going to be what makes the wiper. It starts off with a bunch of scattered images that I then cut and edit. I don't know Photoshop. I think I've learned a little bit of it in college, high school, but for the most part, I don't want to spend all that money on Adobe. What I can do is make physical Photoshop, like cut shit up, cut the layers up and tweak and glue them together. If you can't afford Photoshop, here's a super easy way to Photoshop something. A printer, glue sticks, paper, scissors, that's your Photoshop. That's what you need. You can't put any fancy filters on it, but maybe you can. Maybe you get some, I don't know, you got to think outside the box. You have to think physical. How would you physically make something happen that you would need Photoshop to do? That's basically the creative problem solving I've had to put into the wiper. And it's so thrilling. It's so, for those who like this, crafts and all that, you get it. It's deconstructing things and putting them back together and just building shit. It's fun. It's a small scale, but it's really fun. So what I do when I set up the wiper is, and I'm not going to explain it. This is not an explainer video. This is more of me just talking to you. I'm the editor. I'm putting a face and a voice to the wiper. Because a lot of times I'll hand out this flyer, fuck me. It's a zine. I'll hand out the weekly wiper and it's tough. Explaining it all in one piece. I usually say it's a self-published satire magazine. It's a satire. I found the hard words to explain what it is. It's satire. It's a zine. It's 6 pages. 5 stories, one of which is from a guest, 1 puzzle. You really got to see it to believe it, or you got to see it to know what it is itself. And I'm excited about this project because this is version 1.0 of what the weekly wiper is. If I only ever make this as the weekly wiper, I could die happy. Because I made it. I made 12 copies of this 3 months running, nonstop. It feels great. I do see a future where this becomes a very big production, where I'm not sweating my tits off in a room alone cutting up paper. It's great though. I love the process. So right now I'm organizing the articles. What I'll do is I'll cut up all my pieces, the headlines. I didn't even finish what I was talking. There's 3 sheets of paper that make the wiper. As a fart. There is the text, these little pieces that would become what the article is, the actual article itself. There is, oh god, that one's bad. Whoo. There are the other assets. So this is an asset. This is like the cover. This will become this. See that? Oh. It's a little movie magic right there. Shit. It's falling apart. This is the cover assets. There's little Instagram icons, little Venmo icons. These are little assets that I sprinkle around the page to promote for social and all that stuff. And then ultimately the image asset sheet. That's what I just showed already. And all of that then goes on 1 sheet of paper. Boom, weekly wiper. I started the weekly wiper because I wanted to read satire. I wasn't seeing. I saw. Oh Jesus! This thing. Fuck it. Yeah, this mic setup's not ideal either. You know, I went to production school. Yeah, I went to Wheelock College to study psychology, and I left BU with a film degree. There's a lot of in between there, but what matters is I left BU with a film degree, and this is what I'm making. This is what I'm doing with it. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm great. I'm doing fantastic. Now I'm just trying to figure out where to lay everything out. So I always had such an affinity for newspaper, like movies about newspapers. Spotlight and there's a bunch of other ones. You know, all those movies about newspapers. Here's one, for example, Spotlight. What's another one? Fuck you. No, but I liked the idea of setting a canvas. There's a scene in Stranger Things. I forgot what her name was, but the girl runs the school newspaper, and she had this light table, and she was setting the canvas for the paper. And just that image, just that process looks so fun to me. And that's where I want to be somewhere down the line. Is setting a professional studio for newspapers. Setting a canvas would be fucking awesome. But right now this is my studio. This is editor's desk. And I am the editor in chief, Gage Morrow. We've been over this. Okay. So right now I'm just placing my articles on the page, kind of getting an idea. There's 6 pages, and page 2 is for puzzles, so I leave a space open for the puzzle. And then page 5 is always for the writers, the guest writer. So that one I can just easily put down there. And the rest I'll figure out. The headline, I guess I can go over the headlines now that we've kind of cut up some of the pieces. The headlines are, starting with page 1, Mississippi governor sends emergency moonshine amid Jackson water boil. Wait, is there a crisis in there? Shit. We're just going to say water boil. See, sometimes you fuck up. I don't really want to waste paper, and I don't want to print out a whole nother sheet. This happens sometimes, by the way. There's an article from volume 2 of the Weekly Wiper that I had to write over physically because I accidentally undercut a headline. It happens. These are the problem solving you run into when you deal with physical medium. And it's so fun because sometimes you can't go back, or you shouldn't go back, or you don't go back, but you figure it out. The puzzle is going to be called Search Engine Word Search. So look forward to that. And then page 3 is going to be Detroit wins bid for bumper car factory. Page 4 article. Page 4 article is, quote, I'm just tailgating for the year, UT homeless man claims. That's cool. I wrote that. Why would I say it's cool? Because it is. Bayer Tarantino, NASA picking one director to fake Mars landing. That's page 5, written by Quaid. Quaid, a comic here in Austin, Texas, who originally came from Western Mass, so good kid, local kid. And then finally, homeowner withholds video evidence, quote, wasn't good enough for TikTok. So those are our articles and puzzle. And now we haven't started assembling yet. We're still nulling. We still have the image sheet to do. So that goes over there. One more sheet, and then we're on our way. Yeah, I've loved every step of the way of making this thing. That's my tummy gurgling. I'm a hungry boy. Yeah. I get so angry. Tummy gurgling again. God, this is a sensitive mic, hey? I wonder if you can hear that. Oh. Sound off in the chat if you can hear my tummy gurgling. I get really pretty upset when I listen to the news, which I guess is what it's meant to be. You know, it's kind of what the news be doing. But I don't know. I do know. I do get upset listening to the news sometimes, listening about how just absolutely fucked this country and this world is turning out to be. And the common thread between all those fucked up stories a lot of times is just apathy. Like, who cares if Jackson, Mississippi hasn't had drinkable water for the last 13 weeks? It's not like there are human beings that need clean water, and we live in the United States, and I think it's a basic assumption that you could have clean water, you know, unless you live in Flint, Michigan, or Jackson, Mississippi, or some untold other communities that we have yet to find out about. Yeah, it's upsetting, you know, it's just human beings being neglected I guess, I don't know. You could be like, well, you fucking pick yourself out by the bootstraps, young man. Clean your own water. Why you gotta make the government do it for you? But then I heard a news story about, in the same state, Mississippi is not having a good PR month. Mississippi also has appropriated welfare funds to build Brett Favre's daughter a volleyball court. By the way, if you're wondering who I listen to, where I got my news from, if you're wondering how to, discredit whatever I say, or not, maybe you're just genuinely interested. Why do I always assume the worst in people? I don't know. I listen to Breaking Points with Crystal Ball and Sagar and Jetty, and I really enjoy their programming because I feel like they just do. They have such class struggle focused news stories. They've talked about things that news stories that then become popular, and I hear about them so much earlier there because they're actually talking about news that has to do with people. They talk about the railroad strikes that were pending, or impending, I guess, the impending railroad strikes. And that then just became a story right before they broke the strike or stopped the strike. But they were talking about it for quite some time. And I think it's important to stay ahead of things and stay informed about your country, about the world, about what's going on. Or not. There's also that too. I was like that for a while. I'm sure I'll return to that eventually. But, not knowing, ignorance is bliss, kind of. That classic philosophy. Ignorance is bliss. It really is. Being blissfully unaware is bliss, an absolute state of bliss. But why do we don't deserve bliss? We don't. Bliss, that's a big hill to climb. Bliss? You know what also feels like bliss? Heroin. Opioids. Those are blissful. Those are. Don't swallow into the microphone. That's a production tip I learned at Boston University. Yeah, why be blissful? Why be blissful when you could be angry? No, but I don't know. Ignorance is bliss, but it's also, it can be dangerous. I don't know, it's not dangerous. Fucking, what am I talking about? Silence is violence. But, I like to stay informed, at least just Breaking Points. I really don't take the time to listen to other shit. Who does? Who those people are like, I listen to a balanced diet of news. I listen to CNN and I listen to Fox News. Like, oh, cool. So you're just listening to two sides of the same institution. That's great. And they're both telling you to go to war with Russia. So I'm glad you're getting a balanced message. I write things that when I write the Wiper, I try to write this paper with The View. I guess it was always my view. I write the Wiper because I write articles in the Wiper to highlight shit that's going on, make fun of it, and try to just get at the root of what you're going to think of the story anyways. For instance, the first one. Mississippi governor sends emergency moonshine to Jackson residents. These people in Jackson, a quarter of the population of Jackson, Mississippi, lives below the poverty line. And, so it's their fault that they're poor, obviously. And poor people should definitely drink dirty water because they can't afford to pay property taxes that would warrant improved infrastructure on their water supply. Obviously, if you don't pay enough taxes to the slush fund that we use to buy a volleyball court for Brett Favre's daughter, you get what you got coming to you. And what you got coming to you is E. coli infested water and lead. It's just what it is. Am I just copying Tim Dillon now? I'm my own man. I'm not Tim Dillon. It just is what it is. If you're too poor, you shut up. America. Are you poor? Then shut the fuck up. Basically. Are you too poor? Well, here's a public defender. Good luck trying to squirrel your way out of this wrongfully accused or wrongful sentence. Are you too poor? Well, fuck you. Drink dirty water. Because you can't afford clean water. Doesn't matter that you live in the United States. You shouldn't drink clean water if you're poor. Period. Are you too poor? Well, I hope you get used to not having your voice heard politically. Are you rich? Well, jump on into this slush fund. Let's start fucking with politics and lobbying. Capital talks and poor people walk to work because they can't afford a car. No, I hound it a lot. I love money. I really do. I love having money. Everyone loves having money. Everyone wants money. That's why money is so valuable, because everyone wants it. But not everyone can have it, all right? You got to have great ideas. You got to have a working spirit. You have to have tenacity. You have to have a rich family. You have to have a daddy that gives you your money. You have to have money. You have to have money to have money. And not everyone has money. If you don't have money, you're not going to have money. If you have money, you're going to have money. Does that make sense? No. But it's the way it works. As told to you by a 25-year-old zine creator. But yeah, I also settled on this format because I want you to see just what it takes to make the Weekly Wiper. Just what it takes to bring one copy to print. That's basically what this is, because every copy after that is, well, a copy. It's a limited press. It's another version of it. But all this work is to make the first one, the test print. And then once I see that it's good and ready to be... Actually, I'm gonna... This one we bust out my favorite tool. How do I avoid using brand names? Not X-Acto knife. An X-Acto knife. No, this one's by Cricut or Circuit. It's actually really cool. This is my favorite tool because this is how you change the blade. That's pretty fucking cool. And then the box that it comes in. See, it's got a little lock in there. Just kidding. Just kidding. It's my favorite bit. Shout out Dynamic Banter. Now I like the X-Acto knife for edges because it helps me get precisely down to the little details of the image. So right now I'm cutting out an image of a Richard Nixon mask for the page 6 article. Homeowner withholds video evidence, quote, wasn't good enough for TikTok. In the story, a young woman has a Ring camera that captures a kidnapping. And instead of reporting it to the police, she releases a TikTok with the video months later when it's finally edited properly. So the kidnapper has a Richard Nixon mask, and that's why I have a Richard Nixon mask. Why does it have a Richard Nixon mask? Well, you'll just have to wait until the end of the video when I read the article to find out. Yeah, what else is going on in the world? Jackson doesn't have clean water. The conflict between Ukraine and Russia just keeps escalating and escalating and escalating. But apparently, India and China were like, bro, we are not with you. We are not down to clown with this whole nuclear war thing. So that's comforting at least. But TikTok. Yeah. TikTok is still a thing. And how does that have to do with anything I'm saying? Well, I said China, so I guess immediately afterwards I have to say TikTok. There are some like one-track mind kind of shit that I do that in my life. Kind of noticed that. I'm trying to be a little less predictable. And some of the more predictable things is like when someone says China, I say TikTok. China, TikTok, China, TikTok. And, I will say this now because you have to, apparently. But when I talk about China, I really am not talking about the people of China. And that includes Taiwan, one China. I'm talking about the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, the government, the institution behind China. And it's so stupid because I've heard that say a lot. I'm not talking about the people of China, I'm talking about the government. Of course. So I want to say America. Well, I don't know. I guess maybe it does require qualification. When I talk about America, sometimes I mean the people and sometimes I mean the government. Most of the time it's about the government because fucking, fuck the Fed. But a lot of times America, I'm referring to Americans because we aren't, we're great. America's great. I love American individualism. Sometimes. When I don't like American individualism is when I'm on my bike. And everyone wants to drive a car. I commute on my bike to work. I deliver the weekly wiper by bike. And in America, we don't really give a fuck about people on bikes. And I know what you're thinking. Gage, are you one of those douches who ride their bike in the street and slow me down in traffic? Yes. Yes, I am. I am one of those douches. Also known as a commuter. I ride my bike pretty much everywhere. Why? Because it's good cardio. I live in a city, so I can. It saves on gas. And, it's fun. It's fun to ride a bike. And I will ride my bike every road that allows me. I'm not going to ride my bike on the highway because it's not allowed. But I'm going to ride my bike on the road. In the fucking suburbs, I guess what you would call maybe they're exurbs. Whatever. I'm riding my bike on the street. If you want to honk at me, that's your business. Do I stick to the edge of the road? Yes. That's what you're supposed to do. So let people pass you. There's not a lot of bike lanes here in Austin. I mean, there are quite a few downtown, sure, but the neighborhood I live in, South Austin, not so many bike lanes. And there's one street that's particularly precarious. And that one, it's got like no shoulders on the roads. So I'll ride my bike and then I will have people honk at me because they want me to get out of the way and get off the road. But my alternative would be to ride on the sidewalk, which is not where bikes go. Bikes go on the road. I have seen people ride their bikes on the sidewalk. I myself have ridden my bike on the sidewalk late at night when there's no one there because I don't want to get hit. Because there's same people who honk their horns, then, who knows what happens. But either way, it's more annoying to be a bike on the sidewalk than it is to be a bike on the road. Is this a comedy podcast? No, this isn't a podcast. This is just me making a newspaper. Right now, I am writing down the name of the pages on each of the pages so I can do a quick reference to where everything is at any given point without having to reference the cheat sheet necessarily. The Weekly Wiper is a combination of assets that are printed and handwritten materials as well from time to time. Now the exciting part, folks. It has been nearly 45 minutes of me nulling, and now I'm ready to make the paper. Now I get to sculpt. I got my materials all... I just dropped the rubber band. Fuck! Alright. I've gotten all my materials nulled out, and now it's time to make the thing. I start with the cover every time. The cover, to me, sets the mood for what will come. the rest of the way. At the top of each page, I make sure to put an Instagram tag. Not tag, I suppose, it's just the name of the Instagram. _weekly_wiper on Instagram. I hate Instagram. I do. I don't hate it. I hate it. Most social media, I despise. And not for the reason you think, okay? Not because they listen to us all day and all night and use what we say against us with targeted advertisements and just openly violate our privacy to feed this big data machine that just churns out little math problems of who you are and reduce you down to a few products that you enjoy. No, I don't like social media because it's just boring. It's so bland. Open up Instagram right now, scroll through anyone's page, and tell me that it looks unique. It doesn't. You are restrained to the limits of what Instagram looks like. Its user face, and now apparently they're trying to change it to look more like TikTok because everyone's trying to change what they do to make it look like TikTok because TikTok's owned by China. Okay, folks. And it sounded pretty folksy, actually. Instagram all looks the same. It's very mushy, you know? Give me MySpace. A day where your page actually looked like your page, you know? Imagine a lot of the things that they say they aren't. That's a super cryptic. Like, that's something you'd find in a manifesto. Everything they say is, it isn't, but it isn't really what it is. Was it not? What it is, and it was, and it will be. No, customization. I feel like customization is bullshit in the way it's kind of marketed, I guess. It's think about the things you customize. Customize your car insurance with Geico. Customize with Progressive. Customize your skin on Fortnite. Customization it's very limiting. Custom is like this. This is custom. You're not going to get this anywhere else because I just made it. And if another motherfucker makes it exactly like I did, then they probably watch this video. Then that's a copy. But we used to customize things. We used to really customize things. Do you remember a time when you used to take paper bags from the grocery store and you covered your textbooks with them? Because I remember that time. I remember a time where we actually created shit. We painted on our shoes, and we still do that. It still happens. I'm not going to pretend like that doesn't happen anywhere, but it's certainly less popular because it's harder. And the easier thing to do would be just download this skin. Just do this. Just take all this prepackaged shit that we want for you and make it your own. It's got personality. Yeah, I think MySpace was before my time, but from what I've seen of MySpace, like the different images of MySpace, that seems way cooler than Facebook. It makes sense why it didn't become as popular, unfortunately, but I would definitely have a MySpace now if it still existed. It seems cooler, you know, like people talk about, oh, fuck. So this, I wish there was a top-down camera to show what I'm doing right now, but there's sometimes where I want to layer an image. I fucked up because I already glued this, but let's hope the glue hasn't set just yet. I'm trying to fold back Governor Tate. It's almost there. I think I took off his middle finger. Shit. Well, we'll have to get that'll be what it is. That's one of those don't go back moments. It's already glued. The glue is going to fuck with the ability to cut it up. It's wet now. I started this video, editor's desk, because I wanted to show people, look how hard I work on this thing. And I'm just like, fuck it, fuck this, whatever, fuck it, put it together. But you know what? Sometimes you reach some creative bottlenecks, limitations. Either way, is this gonna be big enough? Hell yeah. No, what was I saying? Custom, Facebook, MySpace. MySpace sounded cool as fuck. MySpace, I never had a MySpace. My sister had one. You could use songs in your bio, I guess. You could have like a song play on your website. It's like basically a mini website for individuals. Everyone had a little mini website. I think websites are the coolest shit ever. That was like good old internet when there was like hey, did you see this weird fucking site where you can see, I don't know, I mean, there was some weird shit like, but then there's like, I don't know, everything that we see for the most part is on 3 platforms: Facebook, Instagram. I'll count them as one because they do a lot of commingling with the DMs and the Facebook Messenger or the Reels and I think at a time they had like Facebook Shorts or whatever, but now it's just one thing. It's one homogeneous unit. But we see it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Google. I guess Google isn't really a platform where people post things necessarily. Oh, TikTok. Oh yeah, TikTok's obviously a huge fuck that. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. It's where we like consume all of our content. YouTube, I guess. Fuck it. Maybe there's 5 play, but very few, and they're all like homogenous. But then it's like all the content goes through there. Goes through YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, TikTok. And that's boring. It's predictable. It's the same shit over and over and over again. So that's why I made the Weekly Wiper. Of course, I still have the Instagram, the _weekly_wiper on Instagram. But, I don't want to share the Instagram. I fucking hate Instagram. I do. It's a suck. That's the part that kills me. It's not the lack of creativity. Because, there's plenty of lo-fi websites that, Twitter, when it started, was just a text block. There's not much creative customization there, But it had something. It had community. It had engagement that was real. I hate Instagram because of what it thrives to do, which is to suck you in, keep you there, hold your attention, keep you scrolling, keep you tied in as you're listening to an 1.5-hour podcast. But hopefully, I hope you're listening to this or watching this passively. I hope you're doing something else with your life. If not, I really appreciate your attention, and I want to say that to camera. If you're watching this or listening to this, I genuinely appreciate you paying attention, because this is very important to me. And for anyone who would find this important or find this worth their time, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. So, that you're not going to get on Instagram. You're going to get, hey guys, check out this new fucking bullshit sweater that I made out of my pubes. Actually, no, that I would pay good money for. Not because I have a weird pube kink, okay? But because of the creative risk that it would take to produce something. Just imagine if someone had to produce. Look, I'm a manufacturer, okay? What you're watching now is basically how it's made episode without any edits. Because I'm a psychopath and I also don't want to edit this thing. But also, if someone took the time to make a sweater out of their pubes, I might just have to buy it. Now, of course, I assume that they've, like any clothing brand, have sanitized their materials. But even if they didn't, maybe it's like raw milk from France, you know? It's like, no, if someone made a sweater out of their pubes, I would probably buy it. Because the amount of dedication it would take to harvest the pubes, first of all, because I don't care what 70s porn you've starred in, you do not have a sweater's worth of pubes at the moment. So you have to think about grow rate, how much you would have to harvest. Then you'd have to treat the hairs to be spun up into a yarn that could be knitted, right? And that takes time. That's going to take some kind of technology at the very least, because, you can make hemp fibers. You have to break up the hemp fibers. Those are like hard, dry, crusty fibers. You got to break those down, spin them up. I mean, guys, sound off in the chat. Sound off in the fucking forums. If you have a pube sweater you're willing to sell, I got $4,000 I'm willing to part with. Just kidding. I would never pay $4,000 for a sweater. Because I don't shop at Dolce & Gabbana. Cabana? Fuck it. My point is, Instagram, fuck what, I don't have to explain this to you. You're adults, okay? Fucking, it sucks. Where am I? I'm missing something here. Fuck. Ah, there it is. Whew. I was missing a headline, but it's not. It's attached to the description. I don't like I don't like this idea, This goes beyond Instagram. I mean, it's tech, social media apps, social media companies. The metric that their investors pay attention to is on-app time, active users. You ever noticed that term, active users? That means you are actively looking at this piece of software that someone's made. The software that is known as Instagram is designed to keep you on the app. We know this. We watched Social Dilemma and pretended to give a fuck about it for a couple of weeks. They're trying to keep you on. And you know what? Maybe your attention should be taken. Maybe your attention isn't worth having to yourself. Maybe you should entrust it to a company to do with it what they want. That's fine. Not all people are the same, Some of us are pieces of shit. Some of us are good people. Most of us are pieces of shit. Most of us are good people most of the time. But maybe you don't care about your attention. Maybe you don't want to pay attention. Maybe you've paid attention for long enough and you're about ready to clock out and you really don't want to give anything any more attention because it hurts. It hurts to pay attention. It hurts to give that attention to something. It costs you so much time and effort to really synthesize information as it enters your optic nerve, as it enters your eardrum. Maybe it's just too exhausting to pay attention and engage with something. And that's fine. The social media companies are more than willing to take that attention off your hands. You're not doing anything with it. Just give it to Instagram. Because that's what they're doing. They're taking your attention. When you're on Instagram, be honest. Are you really doing anything else? You can't. You really can't be doing anything else. Podcasts, on the other hand, at least you have a little play there. You got a little wiggle room. You could do folding your laundry, or you're driving to work, or driving to the park or something, driving to the abortion clinic. You have options. But Instagram, you don't. Because they need that little finger to scroll. For now, once fat TikTok finally takes over and the, food equality finally gets pushed through the Senate and we are then legally required to eat Oreos, then you won't have a finger to scroll with. And if at first they'll offer a lower definition scroll for those nubbed individuals, but eventually they'll just have like an eye tracker that scrolls for you, and then you won't even need your finger. And then the physical touch of your finger on that screen, the last reminder that you exist in a world of physical objects, will then evaporate faster than the middle class in the 80s. And you will exist in this float tank world of ambiguous signals being shot into your brain from God knows where. And then you will reach bliss. Social media bliss. Ignorant to your surroundings, ignorant to the world that is not told to you through a 6-inch piece of glass. So yeah, read the Weekly Wiper on Instagram at _weekly_wiper. I'm actually making a website, theweeklywiper.com. It will launch October 6th with my monthly magazine, The Waxing Wiper. Big announcement time. Pum, 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 pum. I don't have any followers or anybody who gives a fuck. That's a lie. I do. Unlike those, right now I have 120 followers on Instagram. I will admit a sin, and that is I acquired maybe 2 or 3 from the algorithm. I paid twice to promote the Weekly Wiper on Instagram using their promotion tools. And by that, I mean I paid the data dealers a premium to use your data against you and make you see the wiper. And for that, I am deeply sorry for. I will not do that ever again. That was when I wanted the Weekly Wiper to blow up. I don't want this to blow up. If you find the Weekly Wiper out in the wild and you read it and you like it, thank you. Anything else is not my business, because I don't think there is a value in growing an audience if you don't want that audience to enjoy what you make. And I want everyone, I guess that's pretty psycho. I want people to enjoy the Weekly Wiper. And to me that means you found it and it caught you off guard. You found it in one of the cafes or smoke shops or grocery stores. Shout out Royal Blue Grocery. I want you to find this magazine in the wild, and I want you to read it. And hopefully you enjoy it. But it is not up to me to tell you that you have to read it. It's not up to me to tell you how you should read it. Oh, I love it. So the way I acquire my assets is I basically just search images relating to the articles. I find the ones that would fit together, and I found there are harmonious moments in making this paper creatively that give me such joy, such deep creative joy. It's hard to explain unless you make something or you're creative yourself, or like to do creative things. When Google Images, actually not even Google, it's DuckDuckGo Images. Yep, I'm one of those guys. But these images, I kind of have to finagle physically. I have to physically wrangle these photos with cutting and pasting. No Photoshop. And sometimes these images, because sometimes they look janky. You can see the jank in how I make it. You can see the handmade part, which I think is part of the charm of the wiper, is that you can tell that it was handmade by someone. Because when you're holding a physical piece of media and you're seeing that I made it, I hope that brings a little tickle to your spirit that someone took the time to make the damn thing instead of just copying pasting off of some app and posting and pushing it with an algorithm. I make this. I deliver it by hand. I want you to find it, and I want you to enjoy it, and I want you to like it. But there are a few moments in making this that bring true joy to me, and that is when an image just works. I find these images on DuckDuckGo, and I just kind of hope for the best, to be honest. I have a Google. The only thing Google, really, I'm grateful for Google is having the Google Office suite. Google Docs, Google Slides, Google Excel, or I guess they call them Google Sheets, Google Forms. These are all things that Google made, and for that I am greatly appreciative. Because they didn't have to do that. They could just steal your data. They could just take your data that you are unwittingly giving them on their platforms and use it against you to construct an image of you to advertisers that they then can exploit to market towards your seemingly secret interests. But thank you, Google, for making Google Docs. Now, so I assemble these images basically on Google Docs, and I print them out on a sheet of paper so that they all fit on one sheet of paper. And in my head, I kind of just have to eyeball on the Google Doc where everything's going to line up. See, there we go. Running into that issue one more time. Basically, I have to line them up on the Google Doc. You know what? Fuck it. I'll paste it to the end of the page. And, hope for the best. And, is my tummy grumbling again? God, my stomach is loud. So the serendipity, the moment that I love, the things that I love is when an image just works. And this image that you will see if you follow the Weekly Wiper or if you find the Weekly Wiper somewhere. This image worked out perfectly. Now, the article is Detroit wins bid for bumper car factory. The joke being that Detroit is a hollowed out husk of its former self. There used to be an industry town, American manufacturing, full circle. American manufacturing town that produced automobiles for the world and was once the wealthiest city in America because of this industry, and is now, because of a lot of variables, including outsourcing labor to cheap countries that don't really care about human rights, certain regulations, and, yada, yada, yada. The industry is no longer there. And that's what the article is about. It's about how industry has been returned to Detroit. And now instead of making GM and Ford, they're making bumper cars for carnivals. And the image that I picked was of an assembly line of cars spanning into the distance at a certain angle. And it's a very specific angle, kind of a vanishing point somewhere along in the factory. And I just remove this actually, because this is not going to be, no one's going to appreciate what the fuck that image is. To the recycling. And another image that I had to superimpose onto that was of bumper cars. And I found an image of bumper cars that were aligned in a way that almost exactly mimics the perspective of the cars on the assembly line in the original image. And so when I superimpose them, the angle makes sense, the perspective makes sense, and those are the moments when I can do things by eye on my computer and then bring it into the physical world and it works and I have something to work with. mwah, chef's kiss. It just brings me if you like making shit, if not, I'm also not going to pretend like adults can't empathize with things. You don't have to. I've fallen trapped to the trappings of reductive. I don't know, dude. What am I talking about? No, someone's cutting trees outside my house. Yeah, man, I fucking love making this thing. I love making this paper. Truly, I hope people can understand how much I enjoy making this thing. And when I have a top-down camera, it's gonna look so cool because I really like how everything is splayed out on my desk. I love the process of nulling my materials, getting all of the pieces together, and then finally beginning the assembly process and problem solving on the go. As certain images don't work out, I have to scrap things and cut things and move them around. It really just tickles my gizzards to do this, folks. Is that a term? No. Is it a term now? Yes. You know what? It's been a while. Sometimes what I like to do to change up the aesthetic of the paper is to mix images formatting. A lot of times I will go like the social promo, headline, written by, image, and then article in descending order from the top of the page. But every once in a while I like to add some interesting aesthetic chaos, I suppose, or balancing the composition. And instead of having just a block of text underneath an image, I like to infuse images into the article, which I think gets closer to what I'm ultimately trying to make, which is a magazine. And magazines are full of that. You'll see quotes that are blown up and are kind of injected between text. You'll see an image that's kind of offset, and it helps your eye rest a little bit on different design elements as opposed to just image, block of text. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do on this article. I'm just tailgating for the year, UT homeless man claims. I'm going to take the homeless man image, which I cleverly put a Hook 'em Horns sign over his homeless sign, I guess. He is a UT student after all. And then also have an image of what tailgating at UT looks like. And I'm going to attempt to mix these images in with the text of the article itself. I'm going to do that right now. I feel like Bob. I fucking love. No, I don't fucking love. I respect and appreciate what Bob Ross has done in his lifetime. The show that he made was called The Love of Painting. And I think that is just beautiful. It's not painting with Bob. It's not Bobby's going to paint. It's not check out my fucking squirrel, you idiot. No, it's the love of painting. Because that man, if nothing else, loved to paint. And he made a show about sharing his love of painting. And he called it that. The love of painting. He could have called it anything. But he chose that because he wanted to highlight his appreciation for painting. So what I'm doing now is I'm kind of presetting these images just to see how they're going to line up and to see if I have enough space. It's going to be tight, folks, but I think I have just enough space to set it out. Going into the zine, something I did not appreciate is printing margins. And as I found out, my printer has a 1/4 inch margin around the edge, a 1/4 inch border, I suppose you could call it, of blank, basically. So if you have an image too close to the edge of the sheet on the computer, or on when you're copying this, because I double side copy the template, and that's what makes all the other copies of the wiper if you get too close to the edge, your text will be cut off. And I've had articles in the past that the physical articles have been cut off because I didn't respect that quarter edge boundary. I didn't know the quarter edge boundary existed until such a time, but usually it was the side edge of the image. It wasn't cutting off whole lines of text, but instead it was cutting off like a half of a letter from an article, or yet sometimes a whole letter from the edge of each word on an article. And I kind of just chalked it up to, people can use inference, but it does lower the quality of the zine, of the wiper. And so moving forward, I have learned to respect the edge, respect that quarter inch. It's about the only time you're ever going to hear that. You got to respect my quarter inch. And you do, because you'll lose context, you will lose images, and you will lose text to that. So, respect the quarter inch. That might be a piece of merch. Who knows? If you get a good idea and you make something that's close to a podcast, there will be an inevitability where you say something and you're like, that should be a shirt. It's kind of taking that whole, this should be a bumper sticker, and really actualizing that. Because everyone's a content creator. Like on Instagram. And I can't hate it. We are probably living in the most creative time ever. Yeah, I can say that. We, as Americans, are living in the most creative time. And I'm going to say Americans. I know other countries are creative. Don't get me wrong. But just for the sake of access, ubiquitous access to these social media sites, we are living in the most creative, in the literal sense, we're creating creative time ever. We're creating so much, but we're not making anything. We're creating separate worlds. We're creating whole other worlds. We're creating a multiverse. We're creating a world where the COVID-19 virus was not leaked from a lab, that we are creating that as a fabrication, because the real production of the virus came from a lab in Wuhan, China, that was in a large part funded by the United States, specifically companies tied to our favorite Italian medical doctor, Dr. Anthony Fauci. And that's real. And that is a real thing, but it was creative. It was creative to come up with about 14 other excuses for why the COVID virus existed. So we're a creative society. Lies are creative. Lies are creations. You have to construct that. It's a narrative. It comes from nowhere. You think Carrie, the acclaimed Stephen King novel, actually happened? No. There's not a prepubescent girl with telekinesis. It was created. Just like the natural spillover theory. It's all created, folks. These things are fabrications. They're created. We have no manufacturing left in America, but Americans still want to manufacture. So they do. Like Noam Chomsky would say, they manufacture consent with our politicians that are captured by corporations. They create lies and narratives that they spin up on news networks. They create conflict to help fuel their ratings. Again, newscasts. They create deceit and division. Again, with cable news programs. So we are a very creative society. We create things. We love creating. We love fabricating, manufacturing, building walls. You know, that's what we do. That's what we do as Americans. We just can't stop making shit. So all the people that say American manufacturing is gone, look at Twitter. There's a lot of manufactured consent there. I needed to say that to camera. I needed to say that to the camera so that I could use it as a clip. That's why I looked up. You think it's like, oh, he's landing a point. No, I revised it in my head a bunch of times how I would stick the landing on that. And I looked up at the camera because a point isn't worth making if I can't make a hashtag for it and put it online. You see, even I, who am making a zine, fall prey to the same kind of mental programming that has been installed by generations of social media. And when I say generations, I mean generations in a software sense. I am one generation. So that's the results, guys. I was able to infuse the images with the text assets. So it kind of creates an offset page, as opposed to, say, this Detroit article that has the block of text below an image. This one's kind of more visually interesting. Now, I don't want to make the Weekly Wiper too flashy from a creative sense, because, well, it's just not. It's not flashy. It's certainly of my own design, and I want it to be visually exciting. No, that's not it. I don't want it to be visually. I want it to be interesting. Shit. But I think, really, it's just like fishing. I think my writing and the writing of those, which, by the way, I've been talking a lot about me and my manufacturing. I want to take this time. Wow. Folks, I love serendipity. It's one of my favorite words now, and it's what I prefer over algorithms. I want people to find things serendipitously. I have a story that I will explain after this. But there is a moment of serendipity happening right now, because as I took the time to say that I want to explain the page 5 article and its importance to me, I'm now working on page 5. I couldn't have asked for better timing. Thank you. What was I looking at? Depends on what book you read. I love serendipity, but enough about me. Right now we are talking about the page 5 article of the Weekly Wiper. In my mind, the second reason why this paper even exists in the first place. I came up with the idea for the Weekly Wiper in one day, starting with me creating basically this, but more drawing and rough sketches of where everything's going to be placed on my lunch break at work at Starbucks. And the thoughts of what this would become, where this thing goes, what becomes of the Weekly Wiper inevitably rushed through my mind, just thinking about daydreaming, basically, about what this would eventually become. And from the very first moments of those daydreams, I thought about other writers contributing to the Weekly Wiper. I could have easily just made this my own thing and taken up the entire publication by myself. I would prefer it in some senses, as in I get complete creative control of every single word and every single image that goes in this thing. But like my original love of filmmaking, I appreciate the collaborative nature of certain art forms. And the page 5 article has always been, the pages have moved around, asterisk, but there has always been one page in the Weekly Wiper, and it is page 5 for the version 1.0 of the Weekly Wiper in its current era. Page 5 is always for a guest writer, and I stress that to everyone who reads, because that to me is one of my greatest prides of this paper, is that I get to put on other writers. Every week I have a different topic for the Weekly Wiper, for the Weekly Wiper's page 5 article. The week 13, the 13th volume topic was NASA. And Quaid, who is a comic I mentioned before, he's an Austin comic who is originally from Western Mass, good kid, local kid. Quaid wrote a great article last week, and he wrote a great article this week. He was the only Weekly Wiper contributor to contribute 2 weeks in a row so far. So if there's ever Weekly Wiper trivia, the first contributor to contribute 2 weeks in a row was Quaid. Put that in the books. Quaid, I know him. I got to know him a little bit here in Austin. Don't know each other too well. But my point is, page 5 is always for a guest writer. Since the dawn of this paper, since the beginning of the Weekly Wiper, I'd always looked forward to the notion or looked forward to the practice of putting on other writers, because it would be boring if it was just me writing. But not even just for that. I want to have a platform. That is mine own, that I can customize, truly customize, that I can make, I can create, I can share, truly share, as in give to someone. More on that later. I have a whole rant about that. But not just so I can say, me, look at this great thing. I want this weekly wiper. I want it, most everything I do, I guess maybe except for stand-up. It's a very personal thing, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to do a duo act. I want other people to have a place to do their thing. In comedy, it's important that we have a stage time, that we can go out and do that. But it doesn't just happen. Stages are in places of business. They're in cafes. They're in bars, mostly. They're in, I don't know, where's an obscure place that I've done comedy? On the street, you know? Open mics, people who've done open mic comedy, or even, you know, open mic music, whatever, you understand that it's important to have a space to do the thing you love. And the thing I love is comedy. This weekly wiper is something I was able to make by myself. And I didn't need anyone's permission or fucking skill set to do. I just did it all by myself, started it up by myself, and continuing to do it by myself. Making it, that is, as you're seeing. This is all me. This is how the weekly wiper, this is how it gets made, folks. But I don't want this to be just something I contribute to. I want this to be a space that other people can use for their own work. Fuck. Oh, man. Sometimes, folks, it is a race against time with this thing because the glue sets quickly and I just need like another 1/4 inch of space. Not even. I need like 1/8 of an inch. All right. I want this to be a space that other people can contribute and write and be creative and do goofy and funny shit and express themselves and share their comedy. And so page 5 has always, will always be for someone else. Now, I'm going to be honest. This is a little peek behind the curtain. Sometimes people don't contribute. They don't pitch. Because, let me just explain. Page 5 works like this. Every week on the Instagram, I post in the bio the description or the topic of the week for whatever the next week's article will be. So this week coming up, deadline is Wednesday at noon. I guess if I'm posting this already. If you're seeing this, the topic that just got closed out was... I almost stabbed my... Fuck. Oh, that hurt. The topic that I just posted, the topic that won, the article that won for the topic, that topic was elections. That's this week's winning topic. Next week is, well, this is fun. I think about these things pretty a lot. There's a lot of work that goes into this. There's some smaller details that I drop until last minute sometimes. What should my topic, I guess eventually. Manufacturing. Manufacturing is the topic of the week. If you want to submit, is that how that works? By noon. Manufacturing. Fuck, I guess this doesn't work. Hold on. Next week. Yes. Dead air. I was just doing a bunch of calculations in my head. The topic of the week, the Weekly Wipers, page 5 topic of the week is manufacturing. Pitch 5 headlines to the DMs of the Weekly Wiper, and whoever has the best headline gets picked to write 250 words on the topic for $20. That has been the pitch that I've used and will probably continue to use in its current format for the page 5 article. The page 5 article is always for someone else. The peek behind the curtain is that sometimes people don't submit because this isn't exactly the most popular publication in the world. That's okay. People have lives. But Austin Apostle has always been there for me when I need a sports article. He was there for the very first volume. The very first volume of the Weekly Wiper. The very first volume of the Weekly Wiper had an article from him, and it had an article from a good friend of mine, Trenton Bradley, and those were contributions to the Weekly Wiper. But now the page 5 article is always for a guest. This week's is Bay or Tarantino, NASA picking one director to fake Mars landing. And that was written by Quaid. Page 5 article is always for a guest. I've created the Weekly Wiper as a platform not only for myself and my creativity, but for others. I want people to want to contribute to the Weekly Wiper. I want to have a platform that people are excited to be a part of and excited to see their work. And I get that. I get to give this copy to the person who wrote in it, and for them to see their work on the page, for them to see them being published. And there are things that make me very happy about this when people tell me how funny it is. Obviously, I work very hard on making something that people will enjoy and actually enjoy. Not just like, oh, that was funny, but like, you know, I want people to be impressed. I put a lot of work into this, so I want that work to pay off, and I like when people appreciate it because it reminds me that it's worth it. And even if no one ever reads this, to me, even just this process is so worth it. And I try to improve. That's more about me. I told myself I would talk about the page 5. Page 5 represents the part of this that I enjoy the most. Not the most, really. One of the parts I like the most. Other people having a platform. And I get very excited when I give the copy of the Weekly Wiper to someone that contributed. They see their work published. They feel good about it. I feel good about it. It's great. It's fantastic. And it's what keeps me going a lot of times. Because I'm not going to lie, this shit gets stressful and is a struggle a lot of times to get things done on a deadline, to make sure that we go to press on Tuesday. It's a lot. And that's Austin Apostle in the background there, telling Peppercorn to sit. Austin got a dog. It's adorable, but it's a real shit bag sometimes. So yeah, I want to put other people on. I enjoy that. One of the things out of all the podcasts of comedians, of all the things, the people I look up to, the thing that I cherish or the thing that I look forward to the most in my career as a comedian is getting to a point where I can make a difference in someone's life with my platform or my thing, you know, bringing a comic on the road, giving someone an opportunity. I'm sure if I keep hammering away at this thing that the effort will pay off, or it won't, but I'm hoping it will pay off, and I just hope that. Oh shit, that's super creepy. My door just opened up. I'm gonna go close that and take a piss. I'll be right back. Alrighty, we still going? Hell yeah. Alright, took a piss, closed the door, finishing it up now. I forgot where I was, but yeah, I want to use this as a platform to put people on because why not? Comics are routinely not paid or underpaid for their work, and this has just been a common understanding amongst comedians. Oh, you don't get paid to do shows. Why not? If you do not pay, now I'm on soapbox time. If you do not pay your comics to do a show, your show's not worth seeing. That's it. If you don't pay your comics that are on a show, your show is not worth seeing, because if it's not worth it to compensate the people that are making the show happen, then the show isn't worth happening. Everyone deserves payment for their work, and comedy is work. I don't care how much comedians want stage time. The fact that you use that desire for stage time to get them to just do something for free is amoral. That's it. Maybe people, I don't know. And it's an unpopular, surprisingly, that's an unpopular opinion. It's even people, I don't know what sick brain, like programming these desperate comics have gotten into their brains, but they are willing to fully internalize this nonsense that some bookers will push. They're willing to like voluntarily be like, oh, please, I don't even need to get paid. Why? I know you're desperate for stage time, but what you get out of it is not what you think. I don't know. I get it. I've done shows for free. I do shows for free as much as I sit here, because that's how deeply that love for stage time, getting in front of an audience, doing your craft, that's how much we love it. Even me, as I sit here telling you people deserve to get paid, I myself have given up a lot of free stage time, and probably will continue to do so because that's how much I want it. So whose fault is it? The comics that will take that and not get paid, or the bookers that don't pay? It's the bookers that don't pay, because it's a choice. It's a choice to use that against someone or not. But also, comics, it's okay to say no to stage time. It really is. As desperate as you are, you going on stage is not going to feed your family, obviously, because they're not paying you. But it's not actually contributing to anything. Legit stage time, it matters. It does matter. But if it matters to the craft, because you need an audience to practice stand-up. But if they don't pay, people still take that. They're like, oh, it's fine. I'm just working on it. It's not worth, because what you're saying is that it's not worth it to pay you to go up. Well, then why have me on your show? If it's not worth it for you to pay, then what am I even doing here? You don't think any of this is worth it? I should have formatted this one differently. Sometimes you overrun the picture. Sometimes you get this far in the process, an hour and 40 minutes into the process, and you realize your image was just a little too big. That's okay. It's not perfect, this magazine. It takes a lot of work, but it's not perfect. But yeah, that's my bit. That's why I pay all my writers. And people have offered, and this is not bragging. Trust me, this is not bragging. People have offered to write for free for the Weekly Wiper. People have offered to do work for the Weekly Wiper in other ways that they themselves have said, I'll do this, I'll do blank for free. I'll do this for free. No. I don't agree with that. I refused work from people. And if you're one of those people and you think it's because I don't want your work, it's not that reason. It's because I feel immoral taking someone's work without compensation. And that's how people should feel. You should feel guilty for taking things for free. Taking is the operative word here. If something is given to you, a gift, yes, that's great. But you should feel bad if you take things for free. You should. I've taken things for free. You feel guilty about it. You should. And if you don't, you're a psychopath. But that's not the point. The point is I pay my writers. I brag. That is something I don't brag about. I pay my writers, which is sad that I have to brag about it, but I pay my writers. I pay the people who work for the Wiper because I think it's worth it. I put so much work into this thing, and I would expect nothing less from people who are contributing, because they do take the time to do this. And if you take any time to do anything, you should be compensated for it. If it's, some things are almost worthless, but I pay $20 for 250 words. I've done the calculus on that. First of all, I also thought of a price point at which I can afford, because there have been donations. I guess we've gotten this far into the podcast. I should probably promote my only stream of income for this paper. Please, I hate using the word donate. It seems so pathetic, but it's true. I mean, I'm making a product and I want compensation for it, but I will not create a paywall just yet, and in a way that's traditionally formed. Contribution. Please, I mean, why am I washing? I just hate the word donate. Ugh. Contribute. There's going to be, in the description of this video, my Venmo and Cash App. And although I do despise the marketing and sometimes the company itself of these, the Cash Apps and the Venmos, it's still a really effective way to transfer capital. So please contribute to the Venmo and Cash App that are listed below. It means a lot. It really does. It's the only source of income I have for this paper so far. There are things in the work. With the website and the waxing wiper. There are things I'm working on so far. But right now, all of what I've just done is for free. So any contribution that is voluntary is so greatly appreciated. And people have contributed on the Venmo and the Cash App. So to those people who have, thank you so much. And to those who haven't, fuck you. No, I mean, just kidding. No, to those who didn't, I get it. If you didn't think it was worth it to contribute, then you don't think it was worth it to contribute. That's on you. I think it's pretty fucking rad that I'm making this for free. So I'm going to use this guilt to get you to pay, because I don't want this to be guilt-based payment, please. If you don't want to contribute, that's fine. You found this, all's fair in love and war. You found it, you read it, you like it. You didn't like it enough to give money, but, sure, you like it. So on the back of every copy, which is what I just did, I put the Venmo and the Cash App QR code and the actual list, or the name, of the wiper. Oh yeah, I just finished the template. Clock it. What you just watched was the entire process of making one copy of the weekly wiper. That's how it's made. I feel like this should have been a bigger moment. Yay! The weekly wiper! That's the weekly wiper. Right now I'm just, actually there's one more thing to do. Right now I'm just deciding how many copies I should make. On every issue moving forward of the weekly wiper, on the back, this is something, I don't know if anyone's ever really paid attention to this, there's a number, and it tells you of which, how many copies there are. There's 150 on the last printing, and how many of those, which number is yours. I'll write the number. We'll go 150. It's a good one. It's a good number. 150. I did 150 copies, and then I'll literally write the number 1 through 150 on every copy by hand. Another tip of the hat to show you that this thing is handmade, but also I think it's cool. There's only so many copies in circulation. To have one is truly to have shared the weekly wiper. And it's at this stage that I will use the end of this. I'm just taking glue off my thumb right now with a knife. Nothing dangerous, nothing crazy. I'll wash my hands later. The weekly wiper is meant to be shared. And this is why I despise Instagram. I am actually going to talk into the mic for this one. Now that fuck it. What you do on social media is not sharing. It's broadcasting. To share something is to give it. It is to give you something. Sharing only works if there's so much of it. You know, what do we get told by our parents when we're young? If we have decent parents, share as a command. Share. Share with your friends. Hey, share that toy. Share that toy. Share the Fruit Loops. Share your pizza with your brother. Sharing, in my opinion, means to give a piece of, to take less for yourself so that others can have something. When you share on social media, it's not sharing, it's broadcasting. You're broadcasting to a list of other users so that they can consume that material through the platform. You're showing, you're showing them. You're not sharing. I make 150 copies of the Weekly Wiper, typically. I have changed the print number on different occasions, but I make 150 copies because I want to share the Weekly Wiper with you. Give you a piece of the Weekly Wiper to have or to share with another person. But when I tell you that I want to share the Weekly Wiper with you, it's because I do. It's because I want to give you a piece of it. And then you could take that piece and you could do whatever you want with it. But this piece, number 86 out of 150, will always be number 86 out of 150. This individual piece of paper was sitting in a stack of paper right there next to my printer. Sorry, right next to the press. And it was destined to become this copy of the Weekly Wiper. Now that it exists as number 86 of 150, I want to share that with you. I want to share that with you. And whatever you do with this, if you give it to someone, if you put it under a stack of junk mail, if you throw it away, if you recycle it, you should always recycle. That's why at the end of every copy it says, "Thank you for reading. Please recycle. Every issue is handmade and hand-delivered." And now you're seeing the handmade part. Stay tuned for the hand-delivered part. No, sharing means a lot. That's why I take pictures with film cameras, because the film is exposed by the image, and that's not how film works. The film exists in a little square on a roll in the camera, and then I bring it to a developer here in Austin, a local developer, to bring that image and put it into a copy, into an image. Fuck. I'm exhausted from just making a whole copy of a magazine, the Weekly Wiper. I like film because it does not exist on the internet. I can just as easily share those images on the internet, but I like to not do that because there's something in my mind that's quite enjoyable about truly sharing something with somebody. There's only so much of a thing that you can share. And yes, I have digital copies of the images, but I still think it's I'll call it sharing because fuck you. Those images don't end up on social media. They get shared with my friends. They're the only ones who see it. That's I guess the finite part of the sharing. I share them with my family, with my friends. Not to say that anyone is not on Instagram isn't my friend, but when they go on Instagram, when they go on Facebook, then Facebook and Instagram own those images, and they're theirs, and they're on their platform. So I like to take those images and I like to put them into the hands of people who will appreciate them. To my brother, in the letters that I sent him, to my family. And that's why when you have a copy of the Weekly Wiper, it has been shared with you. Yes, it exists as a copy on social media, but number 86 doesn't exist on Instagram. Number 86 exists in your hand. It's physical. And I think, personally, that is way fucking cooler than a retweet, which is why I make the Weekly Wiper. It's the whole reason I do this, is for that moment of realization that number 86 will only ever be this number 86. It's going to exist in your hand. It's not about scarcity. It's not about like, oh, there's only 150 in the world. There's only 150 that I could justify making because it's not the most popular publication in the world. One day I hope to have thousands of these magazines in circulation. I pray that people will find this interesting enough that I could justify creating 1,000 of them. But right now, the only amount I can justify making is 150 every week, 75 of which I hand deliver to businesses, 75 of which I hand out at shows and mics to friends, family. So please share the Weekly Wiper with your friends. Even if it's on Instagram and you're sending it and you're showing them on social media, it means a lot to me that this one thing that I make every week ends up in the hands of people who really enjoy it. I want to grow the audience for the Weekly Wiper with word of mouth. I don't want to use algorithms, although I'm sure they'll be involved when I share this video, when I turn it into a reel or something. But my intention is not to use your data or the algorithm to push this thing in any way that feels unnatural. If you find the Weekly Wiper and you enjoy it, send me a message on the Weekly Wiper Instagram or the comments. However you want to leave your comments on this, do whatever you want with it. Make it your own. Enjoy it. Go make your own zines. Maybe this is the inspiration for you to start that project of something that's a little off the beaten path. Go out there, create, manufacture, design, build something for yourself, because that shit is so cool. And that's what I want to see. There's a zine section of the library at the Austin Public Library that has zines, including the Weekly Wiper. So if you're at the Austin Public Library, check us out. Make your own things. Find your own path. Do it your way. Or don't. But if you do, share it with me. The Weekly Wiper News at gmail.com, at _weekly_wiper on Instagram. Find me some other way. It's the internet. It's the surveillance state that the CIA had wet dreams about in the 80s. So it's really easy to find people. Find me. Send me messages of things you've made. I quite enjoy other people's personal creations. But right now, I'm going to take this template and I'm going to print off a test copy. And then I'm going to show you how I finish the paper. This is the moment of excitement that I truly give a shit about. I give a shit about the whole thing. Obviously, I just spent an hour and 45 minutes building the fucking thing, all right? Don't give me any flack. What I do need to do is to sign this. And the way I sign it is I write volume 13 and then the date. This will be released on tomorrow, which is 9/21. 9/21. 22. Don't at me for my handwriting, bro. What the fuck? Alright. So as last detail I forgot to do, on page 1 I always do a hand-drawn advertisement, or I want people to advertise. One person has advertised. Alden Schaub. Thank you so much, Alden Schaub. He also contributed to the Weekly Wiper with a couple articles. But we charge at the Weekly Wiper, we charge $69 for a half-page advertisement on page 1. And I don't fucking know. This is always the hardest part for me, because I put so much work into making the damn thing. I'm not an advertisement man. I'm not Don Draper. This is just me drawing squiggly border lines. By this space for only $69. I mean, I try to make my advertisement very direct. Or watch your business fail. Email the weekly. I have the worst fucking handwriting ever. And that's why no one, besides Alden, has ever paid me to advertise. But you could change that. If you have a business that you want to advertise, then please help me keep the Weekly Wiper going. Folks, this is what I do on my days off. I work at Starbucks for 40 hours a week, and on my weekends, I spend all this time making, and this is not to also mention the fact that I write these articles, the majority of these articles, on my lunch breaks or when I get home. I spend time writing all this stuff and editing too, making sure they're actually nice and funny and good, and then putting other comics on. You've seen a fraction of the work that I put into this. This is a big chunk of what I do for the work. It's the actual putting together. But this is what I do with my free time. And I want to quit my job eventually. So every contribution helps in the step towards that. And advertisement would be a huge way for me to recoup the losses from this paper, as in paying every comic $20 a week. I haven't not paid a comic for 13 weeks now. Contribute in every way you can. And advertising would be a very helpful contribution. Email theweeklywipernews@gmail.com with a proposed advertisement, and I will give you a tile on Instagram and half of page 1 to advertise your business. All contributions are appreciated. Anyways, I'm going to go make the test copy and read off the stories, and then we'll be done. The final step is here, folks. Final step is here. Part that y'all have been waiting for. So to process the paper, I have my guillotine. Favorite part. Everyone's favorite part. The guillotine. Except the Queen of France. The Weekly Wiper is a revolutionary paper. Guillotine. We use the guillotine to cut it right down the middle. And we used to staple it with a hand stapler, but I just came back from Office Max today. Who is it? Oh, it's the contributor to the Weekly Wiper, Austin Apostle. Yes, I know we gotta. What's that?
What's going on with these tacos?
Oh, we're making them. They're ready. I'm almost done. I'm finishing up. Look at the stapler I got. I finally got a middle stapler.
I'm hangry.
Oh, we're making them now. Pepper, get out of here.
The fuck out of here!
Jesus Christ. He's hangry, folks. Okay, well, that was Austin Apostle, contributor to the Weekly Wiper, and this is my new stapler. This stapler, the very first donation that I got for the Weekly Wiper, the comment was, use this for a saddleback stapler. Now, Michael, I think, is the first person to ever donate. I'm sorry I didn't get a saddleback stapler, but what I did get was a long stapler. And either way, the result is the same. It's a stapler that makes it so that the staple lies on the inside of... Oh, I can't tell you how satisfying this is, folks. Oh, man, I cannot wait to distribute these ones. Okay, so that was the staple. I know this is like a very underwhelming production. That was the staple. And now I'm throwing it through my proprietary embosser that I got from Austin Creative Reuse, which is a great place for those who want to make stuff, anything, zines, dresses, scrapbooks, whatever. They got all the different creative tools at your disposal at a very good price. It's like a Goodwill for supplies. If you're in Austin, please use them. And this is going to go to Austin Apostle. First one always does. That is how I make the Weekly Wiper. From soup to nuts. I am Gage Morrow, the editor-in-chief, and this is Editor's Desk. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Stay woke. And, or die trying. Have a good night. Hi, my name is Gage Morrow, and I am the editor-in-chief of the Weekly Wiper. This is volume 13 of the Weekly Wiper, which I'll be reading for you. If you want to watch how I made volume 13, check out our very first episode of Editor's Desk on the Weekly Wiper's YouTube channel. And there are clips on the Instagram as well. I'm changed my outfit for this a little bit. This video is going to be at the end of the longer episode. So if you just watch Editor's Desk, thank you so much for your viewership. We appreciate it. And if not, I think I'm going to separate these into different videos. That's all inside baseball, folks. You just spent an hour and a half watching me make this. Let's just get on with the show. Weekly Wiper cover is Mississippi governor sends emergency moonshine amid Jackson water boil. Writer, Gage Morrow, that's me. Residents of Mississippi capital city were treated to quite I just realized I've never narrated anything, so this one's going to be fun, folks. Bear with me. Residents of Mississippi's capital city were treated to quite the wet and wild experience in late August, when the Pearl River flooded and caused the city's water to be undrinkable. Residents of Jackson, however, have been apprehensive about their water for decades. A teacher at Jackson High told the Wiper, quote, "This water is more toxic than Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's relationship, and has been since What's Eating Gilbert Grape," end quote. With a quarter of Jackson residents living below the poverty line, not everyone has access to the pallets of bottled water and a clean shower. Luckily, after only 13 weeks of poisonous water flowing through his state's capital, Governor Tate Reeves has brought Jacksonians clean, drinkable, 190 proof grain alcohol. As of writing this article, tankers of homemade moonshine are on their way to Jackson with the intention of quenching all the residents' thirst. Critics of the governor questioned this move, citing the potential liver and kidney damage moonshine can cause. Reeves has acknowledged the hesitation and defended his position. Quote, "Back in the Middle Ages, parentheses, when Mississippi water infrastructure was last upgraded, end parentheses, people drank beer and wine nearly every day because the water was often not safe to drink. Now imagine how safe moonshine must be," end quote. Governor Reeves got a great deal on the Manson. Fuck me. Guys, I'm a fucking narrator. I am an audiobook dictator. Back to the article. Governor Reeves got a great deal on the mason jar hooch by teaming up with the Mississippi mob to overhaul production. Quote, "It was difficult to secure the funds for the moonshine after I built that volleyball stadium for Brett Favre's daughter, but I would do anything to ensure my constituents' safety," end quote. Before the moonshine deployment, residents of Jackson were gearing up for a class action lawsuit against the public officials. But now, they are far too drunk to even sign a petition, or as Tate Reeves calls it, quote, "a win-win situation." And page 2 is, of course, our puzzle. So we're going to skip that because I can't read a puzzle. Please check it out on the Instagram or theweeklywiper.com when it's available after October 6th. Or find yourself one of these nifty little copies of the Weekly Wiper all over Austin, Texas. And, we're just going to keep going. Page 3. Detroit wins bid for bumper car factory. Writer, Gage Morrow. That's me. It has been several decades since the Motor City has had its assembly lines running. Once America's richest metropolis has withered into a husk of its former self, whether from outsourcing labor, increasing regulation, or just plain bad politics. Detroit has suffered long enough and is about to be resurrected by an unlikely product: bumper cars. The demand for bumper cars has shot through the roof as millennial adults are paying good money to relive a childhood they think their boomer parents never gave them. Carnivals and fairs are popping up all over America and the world. The old model of bumper cars are all starting to reach their final demise, and this shift in the market puts Detroit in the middle of a carnival car crunch. Mayor Mike Duggan was able to land the contract with surprising tact. Quote, "You see, bumper cars are technically electric vehicles, so we were able to tap federal subsidies to start up the factories." End quote. Mayor Duggan elaborated. Oh, I read that with all the wrong cadence. End quote. Mayor Duggan elaborated. See, that's how you read the end of a fucking sentence, guys. Detroit has not only become the sole manufacturer of bumper cars in North America, but has surpassed Tesla Motors as the top producer of electric vehicles in the world. There are even talks for a complete overhaul of Detroit's crumbling road infrastructure. Quote, "We've lost too many Michiganders to car accidents, and these bumper cars may be our saving grace." End quote. The Detroit mayor then explained how he would turn the road into steel plates with overhead cages. Quote, "We could save a lot of lives and have a lot of fun in the process, and a whole lot of fun in the process." End quote. Page 4. "I'm just tailgating for the year," UT homeless man claims. Writer, Gage Morrow, that's me. On the morning of September 10th, the Tide rolled into Austin, Texas, and Bama walked off the field with 1 point over the Longhorns. The stadium emptied out, the tailgaters packed up, and everyone went home, except for one. Arnold Schwarzenpalmer is a 79-year-old junior at University of Texas and has been struggling to graduate for several decades now. The Vietnam vet got into UT after being medically discharged from the Army for stepping on a landmine. He used the GI Bill to study English with a minor in explosive disarming. The measly VA benefits left this one-legged vet leaning on the generosity of UT and their parking lots. Mr. Schwarzenpalmer Mr. Schwarzenpalmer is not allowed in student housing after an incident involving a pufferfish, a fire extinguisher, and a jar of mayonnaise. UT refused to comment on the incident. All Arnold would say is that it was, quote, "a misunderstanding." But don't let the senior citizen college junior's situation fool you. When you talk with Arnold, you can see the joy in his eyes. Quote, "Football season is my favorite. It's just tailgating for the..." Oh, football season is my favorite. You can see the joy in his eyes. Quote, "Football season is my favorite. I'm just tailgating for the year, and ever since..." Folks, I've never narrated, and we're just going to, from the top of the paragraph, but don't let this senior citizen college junior's citizen... I write these things so that they sound funny when you read them, but then I realize that it's tough to read these tongue twisters. But don't let this senior citizen college junior's situation fool you. Nailed it. When you talk with Arnold, you can see the joy in his eyes. Quote, "Football season is my favorite. I'm just tailgating for the year, and every year since the 80s. End quote. And Arnold loves football season. Quote, "I don't really understand or follow the game itself, but I love when tens of thousands of people get together to celebrate violence." End quote. I asked Arnold about his plans for the rest of his life. Quote, "Well, I made it this far off Hebrew Nationals and Bud Heavies. I think I'll finally finish the memoir I've been kicking around." End quote. So keep an eye out on those bookshelves for 1 step forward, 2 years in the ICU. Page 5, my favorite page, by the way. Page 5 is always for guest writer. The weekly topic is in the bio of the Weekly Wipers Instagram. It changes every single week. Submit 5 headlines if you'd like to write for the Weekly Wiper. Submit 5 headlines to the DMs of the Weekly Wipers Instagram page on the topic for that week. Whoever has the best headline wins the page 5 article. I'll pick the headline that's the best, and that person will write 250 words for $20, and then that article goes into the next week's Weekly Wiper. So this week's submission, this week's article, the volume 13, is from Quaid. Quaid writes, Bay or Tarantino, NASA picking one director to fake Mars landing. Bill Nelson, the NASA administrator, has been scoring for... I fucked it up already. Just never narrated anything before, so we're just going to keep chugging along. Bill Nelson, the NASA administrator, has been scouring for an A-list director to make the upcoming fake Mars landing a top-notch production. Mr. Nelson agreed to meet with the Weekly Wiper, that's my magazine, that's crazy, correspondent in his office at I was going to say ARCA. 7-point font, folks. To meet with the Weekly Wiper correspondent in his office at Area 51 to discuss. Quote, if I asked you or anybody else who directed the fake moon landing, what would you say? Mr. Nelson is lively and excited as he throws darts at a picture of current Chief of Space Force General John Raymond. Quote, no one knows, and that's the problem. The moon landing is a shoddy production at best, which caused nothing but confusion as to whether it was real or fake. But when you bring in a director like Tarantino or Bay, no one will be able to doubt the authenticity of our fake Mars landing. End quote. Quentin Tarantino, famous for his movies such as Pulp Fiction and Django Unchained, his non-linear narrative style, and his obsession with feet and racial slurs, would certainly be an interesting and controversial choice. While we weren't able to get an interview with Mr. Tarantino, sources close to him have said he considers his biggest challenge to be how to show women's feet in a spacesuit, and coming up with derogatory terms for aliens. While we did manage to get an interview with Michael Bay, he answered every question with either making explosion sounds, smashing inanimate objects around the room, or lighting furniture on fire. Stay tuned into the Weekly Wiper for future updates. That was page 5 article by Quaid. Thank you so much, Quaid, for your submission. Page 6. Homeowner withholds video evidence. Quote, wasn't good enough for TikTok. Writer, Gage Morrow. That's me. Marcy Margarine, 36, was out with friends one night of May 20th. I'm not a narrator, folks. Marcy Margarine, 36, was out with friends on the night of May 20th when a kidnapping happened out front of her home in Austin, Texas. Betty Botox, a sophomore Longhorn, was jogging through a rather wealthy South Austin neighborhood when a man in a Richard Nixon mask jumped out of an Oscar Mayer Wienermobile and violently abducted the midnight runner. There was only one witness to this unspeakable act, and she waited until September 1st to tell anyone. Once the witness shared her story, authorities located Betty Botox on a ranch in Spicewood, Texas, along with 14 other abducted women. That witness was Marcy Margarine, more precisely, her Ring camera. That night out with her friends, Miss Margarine got a notification from her Ring camera. When she opened the video, she almost couldn't believe her eyes. Marcy has been trying to build a following on TikTok, but her video essays on gourmet mustards just weren't cutting it. Once Marcy saw the wiener driver kidnap her, grab a jogger and a Dick's Nicks. Fuck. See, these are one of the things I write that I want to just land. I almost got there, folks. We're going to double back because I really want you to hear this. From the top. When she opened the video, she almost couldn't believe her eyes. Marcy has been trying to build a following on TikTok, but her video essays on gourmet mustard weren't cutting it. Once Marcy saw the wiener driver kidnap her, grab a jogger and a Dick's Nicks. Once Marcy saw the wiener driver kidnap her, grab a jogger and a Dick Nixon mugger. So close. It was not the... I'm going to stick the landing on this one. One more time, folks. I'm a 3-take Tony. Once Marcy saw the wiener driver kidnap her, grab a jogger and a Dick Nixon rubber. Nailed it. She knew that she had the lightning in the bottle that would take her to the top of all the For You pages. Marcy edited and tweeted the video for months while Betty Botox contemplated her impending death, but finally posted on September 1st. A traffic cop saw the TikTok as he was holding a slow stop sign on Oltorf and found the kidnapped ranch before his lunch break. The TikTok that took over 3 months of 15 women's lives was a 15-second clip. It shows the kidnapper running and lunging at the jogger. The caption reads, quote, "When the dick appointment comes with delivery." Thank you so much for watching and listening to Editor's Desk. I have been your editor-in-chief, Gage Morrow, and this has been The Weekly Wiper, Volume 13. I will be releasing these videos along with the new editions of The Weekly Wiper every week on Wednesday, so please make sure to check in on the channel. Check your bookmark for theweeklywiper.com, which will come out October 6th. That is the official launch of the website. And, of course, on Instagram at _weekly_wiper on Instagram for all of the funnies, the gaffes, the goofs, the puzzles, the page fives. Stay woke. Stay aware. Stay blessed. Have a good one, folks.